He's defeated every champion from every organization the sport of mixed martial arts has ever seen and retired from the octagon as the biggest draw and the industry's highest paid athlete of all time. And now Chael Sonnen's on podcast1.com. And for that, you're welcome.
What's happening, guys? Happy Thursday. We meet again. You know, Joel, we had some news last week. It had just come out as we started recording that Georges St-Pierre was back in the UFC. We text George. George wrote us back while we were still recording and said, no, at this point it's rumor, but we're getting close to signing. Apparently he has.
So the information that came out behind the scenes was that the negotiations were going nowhere. They were at a practice, and George just told Freddie Roach, hey, what's going on? Freddie Roach gets on the phone, calls Ari, who apparently he knows, and got the ball rolling, got the deal signed, and now Georges St-Pierre's new corner man is Freddie Roach. Does that mean his longtime corner
for us
is out?
Not a chance. Not a chance. It just means Freddie will now also be in the corner. I mean, I'm speaking now not on information, but no, Freddie's the guy. Or Faraz is the guy, but Freddie will be there. And I think that's great. They're a really good fit. You know, George is always out in L.A. He's always training with Freddie Roach. And Freddie's the man. I mean, if you can get Freddie, you grab Freddie, right?
I guess. I mean, it's always worked so great in the past having boxers coach MMA fighters.
Well, and he's got, Freddie helped get the deal done. I wish I knew the intricacies of that. I don't know what Freddie would have said to Ari to let him know other than, hey, I'm standing here with George and he wants to do a deal. Here's the interesting part if you want to live in the world of speculation, which I do, which I think is more fun than actually having the info, is I think George has an opponent.
I know. Well, of course, we know he has an opponent. The question is who is that opponent? And I think it's Nick Diaz.
Yeah, I know that you've been saying that, and sure that would that would do fine business. That just doesn't tickle me as a fan. I'm kind of looking at it going, well, I've already seen that fight once. I think if George is coming back, I think the rumors that he put out a while ago that he wants to go to 85, wants to challenge for the title. Bisping's the champ. It's him and Bisping. Bisping wants that fight. What does that do with Yoel Romero? Well, we're going to have to find out. But if I had to pick, if you just wanted me to put a prediction out there, I think it's going to be Bisping and George.
Not Bisping or not George and Connor.
Well, see, that's interesting too. Nobody's talked about that. I appreciate you bringing that up because that's also very possible they could come out with that. And I also think Anderson Silva is in the running there to be in the mix. So what do you do with Bisping? Because you've got the Yoel thing. That fight's already been announced that it's going to happen. Of course, we know the landscape changes fast and things change. But if you did want to preserve that fight, yes, Conor versus GSP, that's very interesting. I don't think that's off the table.
One of the things
that's the biggest fight you could make right there. That's the big, absolute number one biggest fight that would ever be made in the history of MMA.
One of the things that MMA, the insiders, the corporate guys have gotten better at is keeping a secret. You could never keep a secret up until a few months ago when Coker kept the Fedor Mitrione secret. And now we have GSP's out, and he's coming back, and nobody knows who that opponent is. You know as well as I do. You've got your hand on the pulse of the inside community. You don't know so much that what you like to do is to tell everybody you know, but you can't tell them. You're not even there.
No, I'm not there. And that is true. Sometimes I am given information. And, that's what helps with this show is to give information. But sometimes you are given information and you're told, hey, look, this is a secret between us, and you just can't reveal it. I'm holding no cards back here. But I'm a fan on this one. Now, when you bring up Conor, is Conor crazy enough to do that? And I think the answer is yes. Would George do that fight? Yeah, of course George would do that fight.
Well, Freddie Roach has also said that he thinks the Floyd Conor fight's going to happen. So if Freddie's cornering GSP and he's giving that information out, maybe he's doing a swerve, but that would indicate that maybe the Bisping or maybe the Nick fight is there. I'll tell you, we had a chance to go out and train at Gilbert's gym. Gilbert set it up for us that we could go in there and train at his gym. The last thing I said to Gilbert was, Gilbert, it's 5-1 odds that GSP's next opponent is Nick. I bet $200, and he was radio silent since then. That doesn't mean anything either way, but He did not respond in any way, shape, or form.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, you got Nick on the table. I just wouldn't think he'd be the first option. I just wouldn't. I think the other matches I mentioned, particularly just because they haven't happened. Bisping is the champion. George wants to be the champion. I think he likes that matchup. Bisping wants the match. So, boom, you've got two guys that have already said yes. You just did the easiest. You just made the promoter's job very easy. Secondly, could it be? Yeah, sure, absolutely. You've got Anderson versus St-Pierre that people wanted to see forever. There's no title on the line. They can come up with their own weight class. I mean, they could get as creative as they wanted with that fight, and it works. And then you got the Conor thing. You got the Conor. Conor's the champ, so he'd have to go up to 170. He's done that before. I think Conor might be the weak link in that, where he's looking at it going, I don't think so. But I don't know. The way their contracts are structured and how big that fight would be. And Conor's crazy, man. We got to give him his due. The time of questioning Conor McGregor is long behind us. That guy is the real deal. He probably would sign off.
The Bisping fight, the only way I see it is I see it at a catch weight of 180 pounds, it being a super fight, because George may like that fight, but I can guarantee you he doesn't like the perspective of fighting all the rest of the animals in that division.
That becomes a problem too. If you want to be a chess player and look ahead, yes, I do believe George likes that fight and likes that matchup. Why? I don't know. Leave that to George, but I do believe he does like that and likes that matchup. Does he like the other guys at 185? No, probably not. George has even talked about going the other way and going down to 155. So there's no telling what he's going to do. Now, let's say the 155 thing is true. Why the greatest fighter of all time would leave his weight class ever is beyond me. But let's just say it's true. That the only reason he's going down is to take on Conor. He's not jumping into 150 for any other reason. So if we can find out any piece of this, any detail, any clue, if I could choose one, it would be, hey, what weight are you going to fight at? If I knew what weight he was going to fight at, I could tell you the opponent. If he fights Anderson, that's going to be a catch weight somewhere. If he fights at 185, then he's fighting Bisping. If he fights at 170, I don't know. I think then you do have a strong case for Diaz. If he fights at 155, guaranteed lock, stock, and barrel, he's fighting Conor McGregor. All right, listen, guys, do yourself a favor. Go get the TrueCar app right now. If you got a smartphone, you're probably listening to this podcast on one right now. Just go download it. Whether you're looking for a car right now, sometime you're going to be. Have the app ready. If you're at a desktop, www.truecar.com. Here's how it works. Before you show up at a car lot, before you waste your weekend and go in there unarmed with information, trying to go through blue books and see what cars are going for, scanning the internet, seeing what you should be paying, don't do any of that. Go virtually and have transparency. Build the car you want. Year, make, model, color, anything you want to do to the car. Canopy, special wheels, 6-disc CD changer, car alarm, whatever it is you want to do. Type in your zip code. It will show you what people in your area paid for that exact same car. At that point, you will be connected with a TrueCar certified dealer. You will work directly with them. When you show up at the car lot, they will honor that price. Most people are saving. Joel's ex-wife is one of them. My friend TJ McCord, just to name a couple that I know. Most people are saving $4,000 off of the MSRP. I love that. I love that you get to save money, but I can tell you from personal experience, I also like to save time. I do not like being down at a car lot all day because I fell in love with an ad, and then I leave in a stripped-down version of my dream car making twice the monthly payments. New and used vehicles. Go through TrueCar.
Hi, I'm Larry McReynolds, host of the new podcast, Larry Mac, America's Crew Chief on Podcast One. As a two-time Daytona 500 winning crew chief and current analyst for Fox Sports and FS1, I'll be bringing you a unique perspective on everything NASCAR, from how a race plays out, strategy on pit road, technical issues, and anything in between. Download new episodes now on podcastone.com or subscribe at iTunes.
You're welcome. You're welcome with Chael Sonnen.
All right, we're going to do something a little bit different today, and I'm also going to retire the Nicky Bones. The Nicky Bones was a way to get the fans into this show,
into insulting you. It's just they got too heavy and it hurt your feelings.
No,
tell the truth.
It's just.
And I'll remind you, you retired the Nicky Bones when we did a caper at Miss H's house 3 weeks ago. So you're retiring them again?
Whatever. I'm an idiot, and we already know that. So what we're going to do is we're going to do fan questions. I asked for fan.
No, you're brilliant. Why would you say that?
Oh, you're the best, and everybody loves you, and my name's Chael, and I got a beautiful wife and a killer kid, and
that
I'm
is
really
a good,
rich, and
that
that's
is a
not
good-looking
bad
woman right there. All right, go ahead. What do you
All right.
Get the Nicky Bones. I'm happy they're gone.
The
So
Nicky
the
Bones
quicker
are
they
gone.
can be
So
done,
what
the better.
we're going to do today is we're going to take fan questions, and I have a bunch of them.
Oh, we don't give a Nicky Bone today, and then that's the retirement that you just made an announcement. The Nicky Bones are gone.
They're being replaced by, depending on how well this goes,
Great.
every so often, we're going to take fan questions.
Let's do some fan questions.
All right. First question from Joshua Holmes. Will you ever make a documentary on your life? Sure would be interesting.
Now, is this to you or is this to me?
All you, buddy.
Oh, would I ever make a documentary on my life? No, ma'am. I feel like it's already been done. You know, when you're out there, you're doing these podcasts or whatever, I mean, anything's fair game. I don't know that I would have anything to reveal. But that is flattering, Josh. That's flattering that you would be interesting. Thank you for the question, but no, I can't see that happening.
All right, next one to Jay Churko. Can you get the founders of Team Quest together for a special roundtable podcast?
You know, yeah. As a matter of fact, yeah, we could do that real easy. I have one regret from my days at Team Quest, and that was we were just in front of the technology boom. Everybody's got a camera now. Every phone's got a camera on it, these smartphones and the Androids. I got an Apple. The one thing that was lost at Team Quest is the video footage. We should have filmed some of those workouts. We should have, a whole entire workout, specific goes, from Evan Tanner fighting Dan Henderson fighting Randy Couture, Matt Lindland fighting all of them. And those are just the big names of that time. We had other hammers in there that are probably even bigger names than that now, but that weren't then, that would be very compelling. What was Ed Herman like before he was Ed Herman? What was Chris Levin like before he was Chris Levin? Matt Horwich, always an interesting guy. Nate Quarry, myself, you could kind of run through. It was a real hotbed at the time. And I really regret that we don't have documentation on that. And it was as simple as hooking up a camera. I had an idea to have live streaming of our workouts. Every day when we get together, we turn it on, and if somebody wants to watch it, they can log in for $4.99 a month or whatever the deal was. And that technology is pretty simple now. Facebook Live, anybody could do that right now. Just have a Facebook account. But at that time, it was extremely complex, and having a server big enough to satisfy that, and it just never got off the ground. I made that suggestion to the guys, and Robert Follis didn't really love the idea. He was the coach. He kind of was like, hey, I'm game planning with some of these guys, and to let their opponents watch this training and working. It's just something that never caught on, but I regret it. I really regret that we don't have footage from back then. Interviews, fight footage. That would make a great television show.
All right, from Drew Clay Searles, if Chael could take a mulligan on any one fight in his life, which one would it be?
Oh, last one, Tito. Tito, just simply because of offense. You go out and lose a fight, but you go out there and you bring your offense with you. You can live with the result. When you show up and you never get going, man, it's hard. And Tito's he's the worst fighter in the sport. We were fighting for title. I took his title. I am now the worst fighter in the sport. Whoever I fight next, if I win that fight, he then becomes the worst fighter because I've officially got the crown, and that's tough. And it would be Tito, and boom, there you go.
Jason Hendricks, would Chael ever consider a career in pro wrestling after MMA?
No. If my athletic abilities diminish or I suffer an injury, my contingency plan is to join the NFL.
All right, now Jacob, you can see I'm going in order. I'm not throwing these in here. I'm not teeing him up. Matt Wiley, question is, after the Vanderlei Silva fight, hopefully sooner or later, will you call out Tito for a rematch? I see it 1-1 as now.
Yeah, the score is 1-1 between Tito and I, and you always go into a rubber match, and everybody knows that. And the only reason I kept my mouth shut on the Tito fight, look, Tito tapped in that fight. I knew Tito tapped when he tapped. I heard Tito verbally tap, and I've never said a word about it. Privately to Tito at the press conference or to you guys, I never said anything. And the reason is, first off, when you lose, you just take your loss. It's not a tap if the referee doesn't call it a tap. So therefore, Tito didn't tap. I thought he tapped, and I let a move go. He verbally tapped, and I never said anything about it. And the reason is he quit the sport 5 seconds later. He quit the sport 5 seconds after I tapped, and he quit the sport 1 minute and 5 seconds after he tapped. There was no rematch. There was nothing to build, and there was no reason to tell the real story. He then believes that he's going to come back for Fedor. Now, Tito was nowhere near the Fedor fight. He didn't offer his services. He had nothing to do with it. But the bottom line was he then took himself out of retirement by pretending that he offered to fight Fedor, which he did not do. If Tito ever wanted to come back and play, I'll tell the whole story of what happened in that fight. And yeah, we are one apiece. I never got going. That guy is easy work for me. I would put that guy away in less than 2 minutes. It would be a completely different fight. It bothers me. It bothers me to come out here and say that I could clean a guy up in 2 minutes that just tapped me out. I realize how insane that sounds, but the guy was gone. There was no reason to come. I saw all the conspiracy theories. I saw the videos going around that show Tito tapping out, and then I let the hold go. What people don't know is I didn't let the hold go just because he tapped. He yelled, tap, tap, twice. He yelled it twice. John never called it. Tito kept fighting, so I had to keep fighting. He then quits the sport and acts like he done something. It's like, Tito, you want to play this game, man? We're one apiece. I never rubbed it in your face when I cleaned you up in 44 seconds in college. You did rub it in my face. The real truth is you tapped 1 minute and 5 seconds before you quit the sport, allegedly. You quit 5 seconds after I tapped. You want to do it again, man. You want to act like you're coming back. Come on back.
Wow. That is what I think the guys in the pro wrestling call a pipe bomb. I did not see that coming, but I will tell you this.
I never even shared that with you. I have never revealed that until just now, and I would have taken it to my grave. It was between Tito and I. He gave me a look after the fight. Tito, we're good, man. I tapped fair and square. The ref called my tap. He didn't call your tap. We're good. You think I've never ran a tap back before? Sure I have. You're in there. You do anything you can. I had absolutely no problem with it, and he quit the sport. But if he's allegedly coming back, I'll fight Fedor. No, first off, you never offered to fight Fedor, you lying prick. And secondly, if you're rescinding your retirement, which he is going to do, he's going to rescind it because he's broke. Come on back. But it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same thing.
All right, let me ask you this. I was completely respectful to Tito throughout the entire build-up to your fight. And anybody asked me any questions, including Ladd, I was very, very respectful. That turned immediately after the fight when he continued to act like a bully. I'm not sure you knew what was going on while you were calling the fight last weekend in San Jose. I know I called his actions around that the cage of that fight that he was acting like the belle of the ball. Actually, he was acting like a peacock in a bad suit. Did you notice all the nonsense that he was running around the cage when you were calling the fight? Or did you just get irritated to all hell when you heard the news that he had offered to fight Fedor?
Well, it was a little bit annoying because he didn't offer to fight Fedor. I mean, that was what was annoying about it. Tito Ortiz was nowhere near that deal ever. He shows up in a suit. Okay, he's a fighter, first off. He's got the only job on the face of the world where you never need a suit. Secondly, he now has no job. He's allegedly retired, and he still shows up wearing a suit that doesn't fit. I just think he's a really weird guy. I mean, you have to understand this. We don't have very many rules. I'm telling you, he yelled the word tap, and he can do all of those things and get me to let a position go. It's up to the referee. If he says something to me and I want to let it choke, that's on me. I'm not mad at him for doing any of that. I'm just now telling you, now that he's saying he's not retired, now I'm telling you what really happened. I don't think he's going to deny that. Knowing Tito, he'll be like, yeah, man, I pulled one over on you, dummy. I think Tito will steer right into it. I don't think he's going to have a problem with any of this. However, I will offer you this. Tito comes out, and we're in this fight, and we don't have very many rules, man. By the rule book or by the code of ethics of the boys, there's not a lot of rules. We have one thing. When a guy taps, you let him go, period. I tapped out, and he kept the lock. That's as scummy and dirty and bad as it gets. Now, it was my neck. All's well. I jump up. Everything's fine. That was my arm, and I tapped, and he kept going. We could be having a totally different conversation. If that was my leg, I mean, you remember what happened to Pale Horace, and he was putting those guys out, and he ended up getting cut. You're going, hey, you can't do this. I covered him with the commission. The commission wants to know, hey, how do you want us to handle this? I don't. I do not want you to handle it. We're in the heat of battle. I tapped. He held him. I'm good. Let it go. I completely covered him. He comes to the press conference and wants me to give him an apology. He demands an apology. It's like, Tito, you just broke the one and only rule that we have in this sport. I then covered you for it so that you aren't suspended or fined or have to go through a hearing. And now you want an apology from me. It's like, this is insane, world.
So you made a deal with my question, you made a deal with yourself that he is no longer fighting. He's off bases. When he threw his name in the Fedor fiasco, real or unreal, is when you took your gloves off and said, all right, now you're fighting, now you got to fight me.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, Tito, I understand what you're doing here. You tried to get your name out there. It's a lie. It's a straight-up lie. You never offered to fight Fate. He was nowhere near that deal. You were at the meeting. Now, you were outside the door of the meeting. Tito was nowhere near this deal. His name was never taken to Fedor Emelianenko. He did not make an offer. It's just not true. But there's a bigger piece there, which is he said he was retired. It's the only reason I let this whole thing slide. If there's never going to be a rematch, look, we're one apiece, man. Everybody that knows anything about combat knows you do a rubber match. Everybody knows that, but I've got nothing to sell because the guy just quit. He quit 5 seconds after I tipped, and he quit a minute and 5 seconds after he tapped. Let it go. I was fine to do that, but now if in make-believe land he's coming back, and I know he's coming back, he has to come back. There's nothing that he can go out and do. The guy can't put a sentence together. They asked him at the press conference, hey, Tito, are you ever going to work for Bellator? And Tito, and he looks over at Coker, and Coker's looking straight ahead going, please don't put me on the spot, man. What am I going to have you do? And Tito's like, yeah. And so somebody asked him the number one follow-up question that you can't ask a doofus, which is, well, what would you do? His response, Joel, he goes, well, the mat used to be yellow, and I told him, get a white mat. It's crisp. It'll look better on TV, and now they're on a white mat. I pay attention to detail. And I'm sitting there just going, dude, you're such an idiot, man. Just enjoy your moment. I'm going to do my part, which is to give you your moment because you earned it. You beat me. And we're going to move on. So then the media asks him, well, what are you going to do now? And he's talking about all the sacrifices he has to make, in fighting. And it's like, Tito, man, you ducked and dodged the drug program forever, okay? You're not fooling anybody. I lived on that side of the tracks. And secondly, you want to know what he told the people he was going to do? He was going to take naps in the afternoon with Amber and then pick the kids up from school. It's like, Tito, do you want to put yourself so out of touch with the working man that is our fans and our supporters and brings in the time and money and gives to us? You want to tell the world that you're going to take a nap in the afternoon. Man, you are so far out. And what do you need that goddamn suit for, nap boy? He comes out and tells me, Joel, that he's in a gang. So I went through a deal with the FBI. I kept my mouth shut. I took a charge. I didn't say a goddamn word, and they offered me a deal. I did not take it, and you know that full well, and that's public information. Tito came out and said that I ratted on friends, and that, where he comes from, a guy will get his neck cut for that. He used to be in a gang. I'm going, Tito, you and 3 of your buddies sitting around taking sticks of bubble gum out of trading cards doesn't make you a gang. That makes you a group of nerds. You want to come to my hometown running your mouth like that? I will bury you in my backyard. I will straight pipe you out to the creek, Mr. Gang member.
Nap guy is wonderful. Here's the thing, guys. If you have a bunch of money, get a decent suit. Tito, that suit didn't fit you. It was horrible. It was the worst suit. It was so bad. You are now Nap Guy Suit Boy.
Yeah, man. I mean, it was just so off-putting, and sometimes the best offense is you just go quiet. I mean, that's a rule in politics. When a guy is hanging himself and cutting his own throat, you don't interrupt him. So I'm at the press conference. This is Tito's time. I'm ready to give it to him. I know full well that he tapped. I did not know that the cameras picked it up and everybody else would know he tapped. I know he verbally tapped because he yelled the word twice, tap, tap, as soon as I jumped on his neck. I knew he had a bad neck. He did that when he fought Liam McGeary. It's why I went to that position, because I thought I could get him to tap. None of that ever comes. I don't bring it up. And he's waiting for me to. He knows I'm going to I do not. I give him his moment because he's leaving the sport anyway. So what in the hell is the difference? He comes out, though, and he wants to talk about all of his fans that have stood by him through thick and thin. I'm looking around going, Tito, you don't have a fan in this building, man. You left your first wife. Your second wife left you, and you won't make an honest woman out of the third that's living in your house. You can't keep your own goddamn house together, and you want to talk about fans that are writing you 140 characters or less on Twitter? It's called delusion. He's a delusional nut job, and now he's coming out and he's saying he tried to fight Fedor. Why that has me worked up is just because it's not true, but now there's the opportunity I've been waiting for. All of a sudden, you're not retired, are you, Mr. Gang Member? All of a sudden, you're back in the game, aren't you, Suit Boy? So what is it? Are you back or not? And I know he's got to come back. He's bust. He's a knucklehead. But there's also the opportunity that I was waiting on. If I knew that he wasn't really quitting, I would have told the story from the beginning.
Man, boy, it's hard to roll back into questions with a bomb like that, but I'm going to do my level best. This one comes from our boy Joe Cockrell. There's one question nobody has asked since signing with Bellator, and it drives me nuts. Have you spoken with Dana White?
Have I spoken to Dana White?
Yes.
Ask the question again. I was stuck on Tito. I was stuck on the nap from Mr. Gang Member.
Suit Boy.
I will stray pipe him into the creek.
What's his stray pipe?
You should Google that sometime. Mr. Gang Member.
I just like the way it sounds. Stray pipe. There's one question that no one has asked since signing with Bellator, and it drives me nuts. Have you spoken with Dana White? And if yes, what did he say?
Yeah, I've spoken to Dana regularly, but I haven't talked any business with him. I'm not in business with him. I just have a friendly relationship, and that's it.
From Justin Carr, when are you guys going to get your own studio so stuff like the Vader interview doesn't happen and episodes can be longer if need be?
Yeah, what a pain in the ass. Hey, he asked a very fair question, Joel. I mean, we've been down here. They sent us an invoice. We pay on time every time, and we can't get a damn bit of respect around here. So, yeah, something like that is going to need to happen. Some of these shows have been cut short, and the fans don't even know that. You know, some of these shows go an hour and a half. Some of them go 50 minutes, and fans probably look at that and go, oh, is there just nothing to talk about? No, there's things to talk about. They kick us out of the studio. It's ridiculous, and it's annoying.
Kelly Patrick, what is Chael's advice for a parent raising a 7-year-old boy and an 8-year-old girl from a grappling perspective?
You know, I just had a girl named Katie contact us for your fight, Joel. The night that you're fighting, she works at a moving company. She's got a guy fighting. They wanted an entire section, and they'd buy the whole section, but they need 35% off. It's like, well, Katie, we don't do that. You know, here, let me explain to you. We've sold out every show we've had for 17 years. So to give you a 35% rebate wouldn't make any kind of sense for us. But if you got an employee fighting, you guys want to come out and support them, we'll try to help you. So we came up with some deal, and I think it was like 18% or something. And she told us off on this email. She told us off of, and she tried to dangle it like I would have come to all of the shows and made this an ongoing thing, but instead we will just stay home. And it's like, hey, stupid, let me tell you this, okay? Normally I would let this go, Katie, but I'm not gonna in this case because you didn't check who owns this company that you're emailing against your accounts receivable. I'm a longtime client of yours, and by the way, genius, I've never asked you for 35% off. And if you would have given me 15 just because I asked for it, I would have taken it, but I've never done that. I pay you your rate on time every time. So take your emails and take your catty attitude and shove it up your ass. And I wrote her this back. She came back. Took 24 hours, but she came back with a whole lot of apologies. Like, Katie, what are you doing? You're down there playing businesswoman for the day? I get where that can be fun to puff off on us big and strong, but we were doing you a favor. We're doing you a favor that we've never done for anybody else, and we got to go around the ticketing company, which involves a whole lot of legwork to get it done. But we're willing to do it for you because you asked and because your employee who's fighting is on the card, and we want to support him. That's how I felt about the question that you just asked. I felt like they were the same thing.
Jeremy Artoff, In high school, what did you place at state all 4 years, and who was the toughest high school opponent you ever had?
Wow, so hard to say. I'll answer it like this. I'll give you in-state opponents because I wrestled at the national championships every year as well, which does fall under high school. And I could say, wow. Actually, both those questions would be interesting because there were some hammers out there. But the toughest high school guy I ever wrestled, I think would have to go down as Doug Lee. He beat me in the state finals for the championship my senior year. I had a couple of wins over him as well, but not at the time I really wanted it. We went on to be teammates and workout partners every day, and I got to go with Doug Lee.
Jesse Fortini, Chael, what fighter, MMA past or present, hit the hardest?
The hardest I've ever been hit was by Damian Maia. Damian Maia was on bottom. I was on top. He reached over like he was going to go for a Kimura, and when he brought his hand back to like kind of recover guard position, if you can picture that, he did a back fist right to my jaw. He hit me so hard it made a click that Joe Rogan could hear on the microphone, and Joe even commented, wow, he just hit him hard right there. He knocked me out with that punch, and the fight ended with a triangle. But what Damian Maia didn't know is he had knocked me out and submitted me. I was done, and that fight was in England. We had a layover the next day in Atlanta before I could catch a plane home to Portland. It wasn't until I got off the plane in Atlanta 24 hours later that my legs were back, that I had feeling back in my legs. It was the hardest I've ever been punched, and it was also some of the most painful. And you want to know what else was Michael Bisping. And I acknowledge that Maia and Bisping are not the hardest hitters, but it's that in-between that hurts the most. If you get hit really hard with a thud, you see like white for a second, you see stars for a second, but it doesn't hurt. It's numbing. When it's really powerful, it doesn't hurt. It's that in-between punch that's a little softer that you're going to feel the most pain. Contrary to most belief, because most people haven't been in that spot. But Damian Maia hit me harder than Anderson or Jones or anybody.
Aaron Gaddis, Chael, what is your best street fight story?
Best street fight story, I don't know. Would probably be one where we never had to fight. I was by myself one time with a group of guys, and they were threatening me or John off at the mouth, and I just said, which one of you is the toughest? And I stepped forward and just said, which one of you is the toughest? And if you ever ask that to a group of bullies, which anybody that's about to 3-on-1 you qualifies as bullies, man, they all start looking at one another, going, well, "No, you're tougher than me. You go fight him. No, you're tougher than me." So ultimately, one of them threw a bottle on their way out. They threw a bottle and exited up the street. When they threw the bottle, there was house parties going on all over the place. That bottle breaking led to other bottles breaking, led to me going home and just getting out of that situation completely. A riot had broke out that I knew nothing about until the next day. Now, this is 1997. This is before computers and Twitters and in the internet and all these different things. I didn't even know this had happened. A riot broke out. People were tear gassed. 30 people were taken to jail. Some stop sign was uprooted. And it all started because I asked for who's the toughest, and one of them threw a 40 at me.
All right. Emmanuel Morales. Chael says he's been disappointed when he has met certain famous people. Can you give a story?
Well, let me do the opposite. I met two famous people, and they couldn't have been cooler guys. I did a scene in a movie called Grudge Match with Robert De Niro and Sylvester Stallone. And I did it with Mike Goldberg. It was just the four of us in the scene. And if you ever watched the movie, it was a minute or less. But for that minute, it was 6.5 hours of filming. The same scene over and over and over in different angles and different takes. And that's just how movie sets work. It was the entire day comprised of one full minute in the movie. But in those 6.5 hours, both of those guys had trailers right on set where they could go in, fully catered food, TVs, the whole bit. Neither of them ever went to their trailer. They just stayed out and talked to Goldberg and I the whole time. Now, Stallone was a big fight fan, so we had a lot to talk about. De Niro was not. but he couldn't have been a nicer guy. He played along. If you had something to tell, he would ask a simple question, then he would look at you like he really wanted the answer. And, it was 6.5 hours with these two guys who I've always admired, still admire. And it was just a really pleasant experience. And generally, it doesn't go that way.
Brad Cisneric wants to know, was there a fight that made you more nervous than other fights when you walked to the cage?
I was very nervous for the Tito fight, and it didn't have anything to do with Tito. I just hadn't been in there. It was just like doing it for the first time. And I can remember my first time fights were very nerve-wracking, being down in the locker room and warming up next to the guy at some of these smaller shows and kind of looking around. And the amateur fights, you're not getting anything for it. And you're kind of looking around going, why are we going to fight? I don't have a problem with you, and you don't have a problem for me. The crowd's empty, so our ego's not on the line. There's nothing at the end of this. It's not on television. There's no sponsors. There's no pay. Why are we fighting? And I remember having a few of those real logical conversations, but that was very early on. I had my first fight in 1997. The only time I did not want to fight, absolutely did not want to walk through the curtain, and told myself in the back, I do not want to be here tonight. I was going to fight Brian Stan. And it went on to be one of my better performances. And that's kind of been a story of my career that I've learned, Joel, like the psychology. I can remember on that hill we have to do with Clayton. Hardest workout I've ever been part of in my life is that damn hill. So knowing that's in front of you is just such a daunting task. Getting in the car and driving that thing and just knowing what you're going to have to do to have that workout done. And the days that I thought about calling in sick or faking an injury, I mean, the days that bad I did not want to be there, I would end up breaking my personal record. I would end up getting my best time. So some of those days where you really don't want to do something has proven to be the best days for me to do it.
Sure. I'm going to answer this one for you. It's from Mitch Williams. Since the D.B. Cooper case was dropped by the FBI, can Chael finally tell us who the guy was? His answer is, we don't tattle.
Yeah, we don't tattle, but I have wanted to have him in the studio. I mean, the statute of limitation is so far up on that, but the heat on that case is still hot. And anytime you think a statute is up, they come grab you for something else, tax evasion or something like that lives in perpetuity. So I don't think he's ever going to come clean, but I will tell. I've watched all those documentaries, man. They got the wrong guy. They had the wrong guy from the beginning. They've never known who it was. And now they're doing more stories about they've got his tie and they can test that and prove this certain kind of metal that's on the tie is unique to a certain factory that he would have had. Man, they got the wrong guy. They don't know what they're doing. They've been chasing their tail to a point of embarrassment. It really is embarrassing. I mean, they try to say that D.B. Cooper died in the plane crash, but nowhere did the FBI come out with a body anywhere that had been reported missing that met that description. Never happened. So, okay, you're going to tell us that he died in the fall. Well, then tell us who he could be. Just tell us somebody whose husband or coworker or neighbor didn't come home somewhere in the country at that time frame that matches that description. It's never been done, and it won't be done. He's alive and well and fine.
Brett Slater wants to know, and I'm gonna get it down a little bit. Who is Chael's top 3 amateur wrestlers to ever enter MMA?
Well, you got to go with Kevin Jackson. You got to go with Kenny Monday. Right out of the gate, it's those two. And, I would say it's Kerry Colott would be number 3. I think that Cormier has a very good claim to that. I think that a lot of guys, including Cormier, are going to default to Yoel Romero, world champion and Olympic silver medalist. I don't put Yoel in just because he didn't come through the collegiate background. Collegiate is the hardest form of wrestling there is, much more difficult than freestyle, much more difficult than Greco-Roman. So I don't put him in that, but on paper, I could see why some people would. I'm going to go Monday, Jackson, Colott.
Andrew Ash, and I know you got 100 jobs. If Chael wasn't a fighter, what would you be doing for a living?
I don't know. Something in real estate. My dad was a builder, so I imagine I would have gone into building.
Not for Chael, but for you. Actually, it'll go to Chael since he named me. How did you get the name The Godfather?
Oh, so I answer the question?
You must.
We were out in Vegas, and I remember you had the suite at the end of the hall at the MGM Grand, and I came to the door and you opened it in a robe. It was something like that. You had a fistful of money. You were eating a shrimp cocktail and in a robe in a room that had a jacuzzi in it. there could have been a cigar involved somewhere. Somewhere Godfather came up.
And when somebody gives you a good nickname, man, jump on it. Can you guys do 5 days a week? The extra 2 episodes. This is from Emmanuel Morales again. The extra words are hard. 2 episodes can be a subscription. I'd pay. I like that.
Yeah, 5 days a week would be cool with us. We certainly have enough to talk about. It does come down to studio time. We were 1 day a week. We moved to 2. We moved to 3. And renting the studio and getting all the nuts and bolts together is tough. Don't forget, we're out here in Portland, man. If we lived in L.A. where there's a studio on every block, it's no problem. If we're in New York, it's no problem. If we're in Chicago, if we're in Dallas, if we're in Seattle. But in Portland, Oregon, it's a little tough to come by the technology. We need Jacob in here. He's got to run the whole thing. He's got to connect the callers. He's got to do the board. So that's really what's held us up more than anything. And it's fun to be number one. It gets competitive. There's weeks that we need off. There was a day Friday, fighting Tito the very next day, and Joel and I are in a hotel room doing a podcast. But it's because we said we would. We don't take days off, and the top guys don't. And if you want to hold that number one spot, you can't. If you don't go on, somebody goes to somebody else. Let's say they like that guy more. Boom, you could lose a listener. So it's a very competitive space. And as far as going to 5 days a week, there's certainly the content. We've got the drive and the energy, and we love talking to you as much as you love listening to us, but that's what's holding us up.
Joshua Chapman wants to know, what belt is Chael in jiu-jitsu, and how long have you been doing it? I
am a 2-stripe purple belt. There's a couple of ways to get moved up through the system. My coach has a deal with me that for every black belt I get a stripe. Every black belt that I beat, I get a stripe. You can also get it the traditional way, which is going to class and mastering your techniques, which is how I got a purple in the first place. But I got those stripes. The most recent stripe I got, I wrestled with Nathan Orchard, who's a black belt, won that match and moved up.
Congratulations. Let's go to Matthew Castle. Chael, if you were ever in one of the armed forces, which branch would it be and why?
Army, and I don't have a reason why. I respect them all. I don't want to fly planes. I don't want to be stuck on a ship, so it kind of takes the Navy out, takes the Air Force out. I would have been an Army guy.
All right. This one is from Michael Scarfini and his wife, Brooke. How did you meet Joel?
I met Joel, let's see, Matt Lindland had wrestled. I knew Joel for a long time because, again, the wrestling community is very small. And when I was a younger wrestler, Joel was still, we had a big open scene in Oregon. What open means in wrestling terms is, so you've got your cadet division, which is your freshman and sophomore. You have your junior division, which is your freshmen through seniors. You've got your college division, which comes down to eligibility, whether you're in the NCAA, the Division I, the Division II, or the NAIA. And then you have what's called open, which means there are no age restrictions. Anybody can wrestle. And open wrestling was very big in Oregon. We had tournaments every Saturday where the open guys come out and wrestle, and Joel was part of that. So I knew who he was, but where we kind of came together as friends was we had a mutual fight. And the old expression, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, Matt Lindland was being kept off an Olympic team in 2000. And it really was a tragedy. Either side that you looked on, whether it was Saraki's or Lindland's side, there was some tomfoolery here to the highest level, and that match needed to be re-wrestled. And getting that court case, getting it all the way to the Supreme Court and pushed through so that Matt could get that opportunity was just something that Joel and I both worked on, and that really brought us together. Joel, do you see it any other way? I mean, that was it, right?
That really was
it.
Then
we started working out at Dan and Randy's gym. And I mean, yeah, that was it. That takes us back to about the year 2000, but that's the story.
But you forgot you forgot how you used to watch me as a little kid announcing the matches, and then I'd get up and announce my name and go wrestle. I was hoping you were going to put me over in there.
Well, yeah, I don't know if that does put you over, but that is a true thing. I remember being at tournaments, Clackamas Community College for one, which is also the venue that they hold the Oregon Open in, which is one of the toughest tournaments in the whole country. And yeah, you were the announcer. You would sit at the head table and tell the crowd and tell the athletes what mat to report to. And then every now and then, every 40 minutes, you'd call your own name, get up, leave your post, walk over, wrestle your match, and then go right back while you were all sweaty and keep calling the tournament. I remember that.
Matt McLaughlin, I'm sorry I had to put myself over on that, but I've been wanting to for a while.
Hey, boom, you're involved.
All right. Matt McLaughlin, Matt McLaughlin, what would he say to a high school student athletes who want to drop out of school?
To a high school athlete that wants to drop out of school, I don't know if athletics would pertain to it. Why the hell would you drop out of school? One, it's a ton of fun. Two, you've only got a limited time. Nobody goes back to school. Even in college, you'll have people that will take off and go, well, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go home and work for you. But people don't go back. And high school, I don't know anybody that goes back. In college, it happens, but man, on a very small level. Don't drop out. And school's fun. That's the other thing. It's very fun. You've got a small amount of time to do it. Go hang out with your friends. If grades aren't your thing, then go in and get bad grades. Enjoy the social life. Stay in school.
This is a good one. Devin Boria wants to know if Chael was at the prime of his wrestling and MMA career at the same time, which would mean more to him and why? To become an Olympic wrestling champion or a champion of a big MMA organization like UFC or Bellator?
Olympic wrestling champion, not even a thought.
I'll pipe in on this one. When Randy had his second wave of success, he had the first wave, and then he retired, and then he came back, and he had another big wave of it. And the gym's blowing up. He's doing movies, and I think he's the champion at the time. And I asked him, we were at his gym. Words are hard. I said, pick Olympic gold medalist. You can't keep all your fame and fortune. It goes away, or who you are now with the champ of the world and all the money. And he, without blinking, said Olympic champion.
I would walk away from everything to be Olympic champion. Everything but Miss Brittany. I keep Miss Brittany, but other than that, everything to be an Olympic champion.
Matt Gant, if Chael decided to become a pro wrestler, what would his finishing move be? Remember, you have to do it 300 plus times a year and make the crowd pop.
I gotta tell you, and it's not unique, but I did like the figure four leg lock. I liked it when Ric Flair did it. I liked it when the guys on the smaller scenes did it. I liked it when I used to practice it on my sister in the living room. Figure four leg lock. And I know how to reverse a figure four leg lock, by the way, which used to be done in old school wrestling. Up until about 1985, you would see the reversal of the figure four. I mastered that as well.
All right. Our boy Kevin Cernier, who is one of our biggest fans, yours for sure. What is the coolest thing Chael has ever heard from a fan as far as being a big fan?
It's from Kevin Cernier. He teed himself up, that prick. He named his son Chael. He knew what it would be.
Okay.
I'll tell you this while you remember how to speak, Godfather. For anybody, including you, now this is Joel's diet, but this can be yours as well, and every fighter should have this, but the average person can use it as well. Ultimate Weight Cut. Go to ultimateweightcut.com. Step-by-step guide to cutting weight. Sample menu with diet plans. Used by elite athletes around the world. There's a rehydration plan. You can calculate target weight zones. Go to ultimateweightcut.com. Enter the promo code BADGUY, and you will get 40% off. I think that makes the guide like $9. Go to ultimateweightcut.com. Use the promo code BADGUY. Get your life back. Get your energy back. Get your diet in order now. What do you got, Joel?
Ben Carroll, who gives you the hardest time in the gym?
Oh, in the gym? Ever or right now? Right now,
I'm going to go ever.
Ever? Well, I've whipped them all at some point. At some point, I've gotten over on everybody. When we go rounds, except one. One guy I never beat ever, not one single go, whether it was wrestling or MMA, no matter what the circumstance, and that was Randy Couture. And I bring up the circumstance because there was days he'd be training for a world title fight. There'd be 2 or 3 of us that would show up to practice. That was it. So he would stay in and we would rotate on him. So now if you're coming in, you're completely fresh and he's not. I ought to be able to get over on that guy in some 5-minute frame in all those days and all those years, and I never did.
Yeah, not many people did. Couple more questions. Fan wants to know, and I forgot his name, so I'll name him next time.
Call him Fan.
Fan, not Nap Guy. Tell the story of you fighting Mayhem Miller when the cage broke. And while you tell that story, I'll figure out who the fan is.
Yeah, so this was my first professional fight ever. It was in 2001. I just got done with college. I went out to, it was called Hitman, was the name of the organization. Tito Ortiz was the face of it. Paul Herrera ran it. And how involved Tito was, I don't know. But we were told it was Tito's show. And Mayhem and I went out and fought. Now, this is pre-commissions. Don't forget that. So we're out in California on an Indian reservation. So it was allowed. We could go ahead and do it. They had sovereign territory, had their own rules. They said, game on. So we get into a cage, and cages are black, whether it's the Bellator cage or the UFC cage. And the fan may not know this, but the reason that's black is it's galvanized steel that's dipped in rubber. So if you ever rub up against it, you've got this absolutely micro amount of rubber. So it will protect you. The cage that we fought in at Hitman was also black, except it was galvanized steel that was spray painted black. So if you touched that cage, it was like touching razor wire. And my teammate, who now coaches me, Curtis Crawford, fought that night, brushed up against the cage, slid his finger right down the side and needed 4 stitches. The bone was showing. And he just brushed up against it. But it is literally razor blades where that metal sticks out when it's not dipped in rubber. At any rate, I pick Mayhem up, I take him down in a double, and Mayhem disappears. You can't see him. He's fallen through the ring, and the only thing holding him up is the canvas. Well, I don't really realize this. I'm in the middle of a fight. My mom had to tell me that, we couldn't even see him. He sunk through the mat. You couldn't even see him. So they stand us up. I'm disoriented. It's my first fight. They send us to our corners. They don't have the supplies there to fix the cage. So they never fix it. Instead of fixing it, replacing the plywood, they just pull the canvas tight. So the promoter, who's Paul Herrera, comes to our corner at the time, and he kind of says this more to Dan and Randy, my cornermen, than he does to me. But he says, hey, we weren't able to fix it. Don't go in that area. And he turns and runs out. And I'm looking around going, well, what area? There's quicksand somewhere in this ring. There's a sinkhole. I don't know what area we were in. I didn't even know Mayhem broke through and disappeared through the cage. I never knew any of this. I was just in the heat of battle. The fight goes on. We get done. That's really that story. However, there was 6 more matches to go, including the tournament that Curtis was in, where he won his first round. He's got to come out for the final. So 6 more matches had to take place. I was in the ring when it happened, and I don't know to this day where that sinkhole's at. So how they informed the other guys or let them know or carried the show on is beyond me, but that's the story.
All right, perfect. Well, I whoever that is, I owe you a apology, or not an apology. I'll give you a shout out at some point. I know that I have promised $1 million of a Nicky Bone, and sooner or later you'll end up getting a shout out. I do want to mention that I'm going to quit swearing so much. I'm going to try to quit swearing completely. And the reason that is, in the car business, I used to tell people that smoke, I would say, hey, listen, you're never going to lose a customer if you don't smoke cigarettes. And the biggest reason I want to quit swearing is A, when I listen to other people swear on the radio or on TV or something, it sounds so bad. So there's no way I can do it and it sound good. And that's really it. I did want to mention that I'm sure, you guys love when I go nuts. I'm going to keep going nuts because I'm a crackpot, but I'm going to do my level best to quit swearing.
I think that's a good move. I don't think it doesn't take any skill to swear. There's no intelligence in it. And you can get your point across just fine by not. What else you got for us?
Just wanted to talk about, I think it's going to be exciting to be in Vegas on a live stage this Sunday night at the Stratosphere at 10 o'clock. Fans, listen, you want to see somebody jump off the Stratosphere who is absolutely panicked to do it, I swear, you guys come pack that house. We will leave from the live show to go upstairs, and I will fling myself off that building for you.
Boom. There it is. Richard wants to cut your hair, but I think even more than that, he'd like to see you jump off the Stratosphere. I am not joining you. I know you will ask me 5 times. I'll tell you right now, I'm scared of heights. I'm not doing it. Won't be peer pressured. Won't be anywhere near the deal. Hope you do it. This Sunday, Stratosphere, Las Vegas. Doors at 9:30. Shows live at 10 o'clock. You and I, the You're Welcome podcast, teaming up with Richard and Frank Mir. Phone Booth Fighting podcast. Those guys are killing it, by the way. Those guys are great. You listen to their show. We were listening to it on the way up. Those guys are just a great duo. That Richard's an interesting character because you talk about not reading a book by the cover. Okay. This guy has some weird jobs. I mean, he works at a brothel for one. He's the one that found Lamar Odom. At the same time that he works at a brothel, he helps people get elected to public office. He has helped on campaigns for people that are sitting in public office. He's got the crazy hairdo and he'll wear some makeup here and there. He's been in a band, but he reads 1 or 2 books a week. He is not what you would, that's a smart guy, and he's also very intriguing. And Frank Mir, come on, who knows more stories than Frank Mir? Honestly, Frank Mir has the most longevity in the UFC. There's nobody under contract right now that has been in the UFC longer than Frank Mir. He has the seniority. He was there for the changing of the guard. He was there for the boom, for the growth, for the everything. Nobody has stories like Frank.
I will tell you one thing about Frank Mir is you meet a heavyweight champ, you meet a person that you think is big. You look at the TV and he's big. Come to the show, when they do the meet and greet, you will just see how big that man is. That is a big cat. They should call him Frank the Big Cat Mir.
Yeah, they really should. He is a big son of a bitch. All right, that's Sunday. This Sunday, February 26th, doors at 9:30. We will hit the stage at 10 o'clock. I guess if we pack the house, Joel's flinging himself off the building. Will you be drunk for that show? A couple shots?
Absolutely not. I will be drunk.
Possibly?
No, I will be...
10 o'clock in Las Vegas, you don't think you're going to be drunk? Really?
No, I will be drunk 15 or 20 minutes after I fight that giant on May 13th.
I'm going to try to get you sauced. I guess we'll only find out one way. Until tomorrow, I'm Chael Sonnen, and you are welcome.
Baby.
Thanks for listening to You're Welcome with Chael Sonnen. Download new episodes every week at podcastone.com. That's podcastone.com. Everybody knows that February is the shortest month of the year. But at Podcast One, we aren't taking any breaks. We've got a boatload of new shows coming your way this month. Like 2 from Forbes, Under 30, and The List. Or Postmortem with Mick Garris. And Clipcast, the official, unofficial podcast of the LA Clippers. But we're not done. Still to come this month, The Raven Effect from pro wrestler Raven. A little bit of Growing the Dynasty with Jeff and Jessica Robertson. Plus, in upcoming weeks, shows from Kim Zolciak, Dina Tori Spelling, Retronauts, and many more. To get more details, go to podcastone.com now. Podcastone.com. Stay tuned for the latest AP News headlines from Podcast One, right after this.
AP Update. I'm Carlotta Bradley. President Donald Trump is making plans to send Congress his first budget.
Lawmakers now expect the president's blueprint in mid-March, but he's been scrambling, having just gotten the Senate to approve his budget chief, Mick Mulvaney. The other reason?
Unfortunately, the budget that we're essentially inheriting, is a mess. The finances of our country are a mess.
Which is also what he told a news conference last week. He inherited on all manner of issues, foreign and domestic. But Trump told Mulvaney and other aides they're going to clean the finances up. In doing so, he's promised huge tax cuts and spending increases for defense and infrastructure, while at the same time wiping out the deficit. Mark Smith at the White House.
Trump met with his senior staff Wednesday to talk about the budget, including Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin and newly confirmed Budget Director Mick Mulvaney. AP Update. I'm Carlotta Bradley.